Let's touch on some other ruins here. The ruins near Puno. Most people allocate only enough time in Puno to see the floating islands of Uros. I too felt I'd seen enough ruins after Machu Picchu and Cusco. However, the Lake Titicaca ruins in Puno have a unique feeling to them. In fact, different people built them, giving them a fascinating history over the centuries. So these are some of those ruins. They're a little bit different from other ruins. There's a lot of ruins, and they all have distinct architectural features. The Silistani ruins.
Those aren't made by the same people.
Yeah. These ruins are a pre-Incan burial ground. The towers are called chulpas, not chalupas. It is lunchtime, though.
Chalupas does sound fire, actually.
And were built by the Kola people and the ancestors of the Amara, who still inhabit the lake. The chulpas were reserved for nobility, priests, and other members of the elite. Entire families were laid to rest in cylindrical mausoleums. So, we're going to go from this to this.
Those aren't made by the same people.
Yeah.
They're just not. That's two distinct building styles.
Yeah. On the Bolivian side of the lake, the ruins get even more different. There we go.
That looks like not that old Mexican architecture, to be honest.
Yeah, I also thought it was actually quite similar to... Oh, they're slipping my mind now. Not Mesopotamian, Mycenaean.
Okay.
I might have to do one on that because you didn't look like you were terribly familiar.
I'm not necessarily terribly familiar, no.
So, yeah, it's a lot of different styles of ruins. And if we're going back to the science here, this was all done in 1,500 years. Just such different styles of architecture, including floating islands.
I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
As a floating island society, I can't imagine you would have a whole lot of use for stoneworking and masonry.
Right.
Something doesn't quite add up there.
Let's see here. All right. I'm going to skip some of this article because this is what I'm really interested in. The Chicana ruins, the labyrinth of stone. The ruins can be found on the island of Isle del Sol. For instance, in the northern tip of the island, one can find the Chicana ruins. The site described as a labyrinth in stone is said to have once been used as a holy complex for the Inca priest.
Isla del Sol, the
yeah.
Sun Island?
Yeah.
Isn't that what Excalibur was talking about? Or you were talking about? Somebody was.
Let's see. On the southern side of the island, one can find the Inca Steps, a stone staircase with 206 steps leading up to a sacred fountain on the hill. Here's an entirely different set of architecture.
That looks like the first wall, sort of. Like that could have been made by the very first ruin we looked at. The same people.
Right.
But that's...
I mean, you're starting to see why I was like, this lake is interesting as hell.
Yeah.
Because of everything. The underwater temple, this is some of the artifacts they found. So, ceramic, gold.
Animal figurines, mostly.
So, I keep looking at these ruins all the time, and I'm just like, it doesn't make sense.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't.
So let's touch.
It seems like a change in culture of the people that were living there.
And a drastic one.
Yes.
Like reintroducing an entire new type of architecture and everything.
Which would typically happen if somebody takes over the people, so to speak.
All right, let's see.
I think that's probably why they ended up on the rafts. I think they were running from conquerors.
I mean, yeah, but that only lasts for so long, right?
25 years.
Well, not even that. Like, boats aren't necessarily hard to figure out. Like, it's especially if they're getting invaded, they're eventually going to leave boats. Even if you don't have boats, you'll figure it out.
Well, but it didn't look like there's a whole lot of trees in the area.
Well, they used to read the same way the Egyptians did. Most of them, at least, to be fair.
So if you're a conquering force, you're going to figure out how to build a reed raft big enough to haul you, your army, and their weapons over to this defensive position in the middle of the lake.
Do you really want to get into that?
I don't know.
Alexander the Great entire.
Well, that's a little bit different. Alexander the Great was a special one.
Rome, in its entirety. Rome literally built.
I'm not saying it's impossible. What I am saying is it seems slightly unlikely.
Mayans built temples out of skulls. Like, I don't see it as unreasonable. All right. You wanna touch up on chat on this one?
Sure. Where did we leave off?
Let's see. I think Mega just showed up. Let's see.
That was Linda. I have no idea where we left off. Oh. I'm sorry. Well, there we go. Maria. I don't know what that means. There's a movement even when the people didn't choose it. Yeah, Balder, I would agree with that. That just happens. You share stuff with your neighbors, and that makes sense.
Lemuria is suspected of being a lost continent, I think.
Oh, okay. That was the lost continent comment up there. Theory, I think, is what it was. There's a volcano there. I'm not sure where there is.
I love chat.
I'm not going to say that, but it's funny. I do approve. Fire department in Milwaukee. Well, that's Blander's glad. Good for you. Not so good for your neighbors. Locking mutations, but those mutations have to get there. This is way too weedy of a topic. Yeah, dude. Genetics is not something I'm super familiar with, believe it or not. Human genetics, anyway.
Look, words are hard enough for us. Okay?
I know a little bit about pigeon and goat genetics, but that's a different story. Pre-Incan says who? Well, even though the ruins themselves are only 1,000 years old, that's not pre-Incan.
Allegedly.
Blanders thinks it looks a little Middle Eastern. I could see that a little bit. Not sure why you would hate the Smithsonian, what, but all right.
I mean, Smithsonian's pretty terrible, even for all the good it does.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine they are visible by satellite very, very easily anyway. They're not that big. You'd have to really get in there.
I mean, they're big, but they're not that big.
Right. They're in bed with each other, so that explains it. Little government Smithsonian conspiracy going on in chat there.
I mean, it's more likely than not.
I'm sure. They're very tiny. Those would be hard to check. There's a lot of them. Agreed. U.S. ships are far bigger than most of them. Probably, yeah. Like our warships, absolutely. That's X-Comer. I'd call that a win. Egypt is actually in the Americas. That's a new one.
I mean, Australia is in Ohio.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm learning in the background, so I might be typing a bit too much. We'll tone it down a bit. You're good, Walter. Don't worry about it.
And guys, don't forget that we do have a Discord. It is open.
We do.
The only thing we ask is that you do play by the rules, because I don't want to get the Discord yeeted. But we do have a live chat section there, so if you see something I missed or Val missed, you can throw it in there. We'll take a look at it. More knowledge is always preferred.
Always. That's how we learn, y'all. That's how we learn.
All right.
That's interesting about the great knowledge part, though.
Yeah. So this one kind of touches on the ruins, but again, you see how wide that time frame is,
Right.
and how much it varies depending on who it is. So I'll read this real quick. Lake Titicaca was a sacred space for the ancient Andean Empire of the Inca, which at its height in the early 16th century was controlled territory. Words is hard, y'all.
Words are so hard.
God, they are. Controlled territory from modern-day Colombia to Chile. The Incan built more than 80 temples and other structures for a variety of rituals on the Isle del Sol, or Island of the Sun, in the southern part of the lake in Bolivia, where their origins myths said the sun god was born and their primordial ancestors emerged from the rock. And they lowered offerings into the surrounding waters as they set up fervent prayers. So little hit and miss there, because where did I do it at? No, that's the wrong one. I might have closed out the wrong tab, y'all.
Oh, no.
I'll find it again. Let's see. A new discovery published in the journal Antiquity offers fresh insights into the Inca belief system, which was likely tied not to only politics, prayers for fertility, and a goddess known as Mama Cocha, the sea mother, but also to the blood-filled offerings that clouded the waters of one of the world's largest lakes.
What was the goddess's name?
Mama Cocha.
Outstanding.
Look, I'm white as shit.
Love it.
I don't see you doing any better.
Whiter than you are.
During an underwater survey of the lake, which straddles Bolivia and Peru, an international team of archaeologists recovered an offering box made of andesite, a local volcanic stone that was laying on the reef some 18 feet below the surface of the lake, measuring about 14 by 10 by 6.5 inches. It had a concave offering cavity that was sealed by a round stone plug, undisturbed since the box was deposited from more than 5 centuries ago.
18 feet below? That's not bad.
No, not at all. Inside the box, they found a tiny rolled cylinder of gold sheeting and a figurine of a llama made from spondylus, the coral-hued shell of a spiny oyster that was rare and valuable. The cylinder, the archaeologists believe, may have been a miniature replica of a chipana, a type of bracelet that Inca noblemen wore on their right forearm. The llama represents the Inca's sturdy beast of burden. So that's what it looked like. So it looks small in the picture, but that's 10 by 18. That's pretty damn big.
That's 10 by 18, or the box was 10 by 18?
The box was 14 by 10. But if that's supposed to fit on somebody's arm, that's still going to be
Big.
like that. Let's see here. That's the stone. So this thing was more looking like a time capsule than anything. That's why I thought this article was a little weird. See the gears turning, Val.
Seems like a weird thing to just put in a lake.
Yeah.
Fastened to the llama.
So we'll read this one real quick. On another level, the archaeologists believe the cylinder of gold may have been fastened to the llama in a nod to the Inca having expanded their empire into the gold-rich region in the mid-1400s. The Inca believed in religious traditions that were never separate from political and economic ones, said Reinhardt, who was not part of the discovery team. They were all inextricably linked. So, I mean, if we're being honest, we don't know too much about their rituals.
No, not much.
So
they all died out pretty quick.